Jacob Golden, thank you for joining me.
You're welcome.
I think we're near Shepherd's Bush actually. Got a bit lost on the way here, but I think that's where we are.
I think so.
Now, before we start into what you're doing now and what's coming up for you, I want to take you back a bit into the memory vault and ask you what your first musical memory is.
Oh gosh, I remember driving around with my mom, being really young, probably. Probably on my way to preschool or kindergarten or something, and probably just becoming aware of music. I have distinct memories of hearing, so this was in the 70s, so hearing, various Beatles songs, and I don't know, there seemed to be a really great eclectic, radio back then was very, it wasn't as genre specific, so I just remember being exposed to all sorts of music growing up, and I think that definitely worked its way into my songwriting now. How
was last night's gig at the Luminaire? Am I local?
Well, it was good, but it was a funny one because I'm doing another show on the 3rd, the Troubadour, and just because of weird political situation, I couldn't actually announce that I was playing at the Luminaire until just a couple nights ago. So it wasn't really my audience.
Yeah.
It was more Sarah Beth Jusek, who I'm touring with. That was more of her crowd. But it was still a great audience to play for, and it wasn't as much sort of people singing along to their music, but
converting fans.
Yeah, that's great. That's great too, just playing for new people and new faces.
Now, your MySpace says you think in melodies, little catastrophes. What type of melody did Northwest London stir up for you, if any?
Let's see, what kind of melody? Well, I like melodies that are that have beauty at the core, but also have a slight dissonance, a slight sort of, maybe a slight sense of unease to them, and to me that sort of duality is really beautiful in music, whether it's listening to Radiohead or early PJ Harvey, or just artists that are able to do something that's quite beautiful but also can be a bit raw, I'm sort of drawn to that musically, and that's what I try and do as well.
And you write a lot on the move, don't you? Kind of as you're touring around and stuff, out on the street, wherever the moment takes you, wherever you are at the time.
I've always got my little notebook and my little digital recorder. And
where's the strangest place you've written a song?
Where's this? Geez, probably a lot of train stations are great for songwriting. When you're having those an hour or two to waiting, doing a tour or something, and especially at some place that I've haven't been before, but I find that really inspiring. I was taking the train a few months back around the east coast of America, and there's some amazing little towns that are kind of in between the big cities. But there's a lot of sort of dilapidated buildings, and the nature is gorgeous there. It's really very almost technical, or it's got these huge maple trees, and that sort of contrast of a slightly decaying sort of beauty. It can be really inspiring. So
good for the lyrics.
Yeah, and riding on a train it's kind of a romantic way of traveling. Because it's great, because when you're driving, it's hard to get into that space when you're in a car, but there's something about trains, so maybe that'll be where the next album comes from.
It's because you don't have to drive, you don't have to watch the road, it's kind of chill out time.
Yeah, it's just watching the scenery. I grew up partly in the Bay Area of California, which is very full on, and then my family ended up moving up to the mountains in Northern California and living almost in the woods, where your closest neighbor is 5 miles away. So I spent a lot of time just sort of wandering around the woods, and I just found it just great for I think that's where my imagination really blossomed, just having that sort of space. And there's a slight loneliness to being in a place like that. You kind of have to, you have to develop your imagination, you know, just to keep yourself company.
I absolutely understand that. Pets come in handy as well.
Yeah.
We're the same in Australia, and you've got you've got friends when you see them at school, but you can't just pop over and visit them like city kids can do. So you end up making imaginary ones and going on little adventures.
Yeah, and also, you know, I had time to go through my parents' vinyl collection. You know, it's just, what is this? This is Led Zeppelin. What is that? You know, and listening to that, or you know, listening to music without sort of any sort of preconceived judgment. You know, of like, oh, this is cool, this is good, this is that. It could be anyone from Neil Diamond to like AC/DC and. You know, if I don't write a song in a teepee, that's
you have to
something's
now.
wrong. You know?
That'll be the best answer. Once I was just hanging out in this teepee in the forest in England.
Exactly.
How are your camping skills? Have you done a lot of camping in your time?
My camping skills, they could probably be improved. I've, you know, like I said, I grew up in the woods, but I always had a house, you know, so we didn't camp much. But most people, if they live in the city, they have to go out to get into nature. And for me, it was just going on my back door. You know. But I'd like to get into that. I'm living in Portland now, and we're so close to, I mean, the most beautiful nature. Like you know, it's like an hour from really anything you want, either the desert or you go to, I mean, there's like active volcanoes, and you know, it's pretty awesome. So to get into that actually.
Yeah, definitely. I reckon you should don the backpack and some walking shoes and get out there. What are the creepy crawlies like over there? Because I know in Australia they're awful, but I was having a look and I think you'll be okay in the Lakes District. I don't think there's any real poisonous
so like
UK.
tarantulas or.
I don't think they're in the UK, I'm not sure.
Okay,
maybe
that's
we're
good.
wrong.
Yeah, well, I mean, yeah, in Northern California there's like rattlesnakes and there's all sorts of things that you have to be. And of course, you know, as a kid, that's really exciting. You go around looking under rocks and stuff, and oh my God, look at that, you know. I wouldn't be as keen to do that at this point.
I know. The years bring with it a bit of a fear of all that type of thing.
Yeah. Give me wisdom. I don't know.
Now, touring, it sounds really glamorous to most, but I am assured by everyone I speak to that it's not. And from what I've seen, it's not. How do you take a break and kind of chill out and keep yourself in that creative mindset when you are touring?
It's really important, and because a lot of it is traveling by car, and that can be kind of that can be really tiring for a while. You know, it's like. You drive for 5 hours and then you get to the venue and you know you have that one bit of time when you're on stage, and that's when okay, this is what I'm doing this for. But there's a lot of it where it's just like, geez, it can be really hard work. No one really told me that when I was signing up to be a rock star, you know. But I guess if you're like Bon Jovi or something, you know, and you've got the huge tour bus and the private jets and
grapes peeled for you.
Yeah, maybe that's quite nice, but
it's coming, Jacob. I'm sure you'll get your grapes peeled one day. I'm sure.